What's up everybody and welcome back to my channel. I'm really excited to be doing another character breakdown from Netflix's show Love is Blind. The overwhelming majority of you guys wanted a video on Jessica next, and the major reason was that, according to pretty much everyone, Jessica is evil. She is public enemy number one on this show, but I really wanted to kind of take a closer look at her and see what she kind of teaches us about ourselves. I personally think that Jessica is the most realistic character on the show, and that she does a really great job of illustrating what the dating world is like. Of all the characters on the show, I feel like she's probably like the one asking the best questions. She's thinking about how their age gap is going to impact them years from now, like not only just now, but like in the future. As you get older, your body just can't do things the same way it used to. And so how is that going to impact her relationship with her husband if she does indeed decide to marry him in the future? She's asking about his earning potential. Mark had made some comments about wanting to move back to Chicago to care for his parents. And she's asking, is that something that would work with us if we were to have children? Would we have to uproot our children in order to move to Chicago so you can take care of your parents? She really is getting in there and asking the reasonable question, whereas everyone else kind of goes along for the ride as if like, ha ha ha, like it's not the most serious decision they're going to be making with their lives, and like there are quite a few glaring incompatibilities with almost every couple that just kind of get like skirted over or like very briefly discussed. And so I like that Jessica is making all of her reservations very clear for Mark to either address or leave. But before we really get into it, let's just kind of back it up and talk about who Jessica and her fiance Mark are. So Jessica is about 34 years old, and she works as a regional manager in the technology industry. And then Mark is 24 years old and he is a personal trainer. So Jessica owns her own home. It's a very beautiful home. I think her and Cameron have the most beautiful homes of anyone. And then Mark rents a home with a roommate and his roommate's girlfriend. So they're living very different lifestyles straight off the bat. And she, before getting engaged to Mark, was actually angling to get engaged to Barnett, who is about 27, 28 years old. So just a couple years older than Mark, but still quite young for Jessica and all that she wants in her life right here, right now. But he did ultimately end up getting engaged to someone else, which is Amber, who I covered in my previous video. And so she decided to, instead of just walking away from the experience, being like, you know what, I really wanted to get engaged to this guy, but he decided to go for someone else. Like there was this other guy that I was vibing with, but he ultimately was not my everything. And that's why I angled for the other guy. She went groveling back to Mark and manipulated the hell out of him into proposing to her. Watching her say baby, baby, babe, like a million times was so cringe-tastic, and it was really hard to watch her manipulate Mark. Like I really thought he was gonna stand his ground and say no when he was like, oh, I know my worth. But then he was like, oh, but my mom taught me if you love someone, let them go, and if they come back, they're yours. And I was like, that is the worst advice in the whole entire world, but I digress. Anyway, she does ultimately succeed in seducing Mark into proposing to her, and the relationship just keeps nose diving from there. Before I get into kind of defending Jessica, I want to point out that I don't understand how Mark even made it onto her short list of like her top two guys, because she knew from the very beginning that he was only 24 years old and only entering into his career, and she knew where she was in her life, like 34 years old, wanting to have a baby ASAP, and very secure and established financially in her life. So like it was a glaring incompatibility from the very beginning that she never should have kept progressing with him. So like that I don't excuse at all. She never should have let her relationship with Mark get this far. Now, with all of that being said, although it's frustrating to watch her string Mark along every single episode, it's still a very realistic depiction of what a lot of relationships are like. Like there's a lot of people deciding to settle out of fear of being alone, waiting for something better to come along. And I think that's what makes her so triggering to people, is the fact that we've all been the Mark to someone else's Jessica, literally just ignoring all the signs that someone is just stringing us along. And on the flip side of that same coin, we've also all been the Jessica to someone else's Mark, whether we want to admit it or not. And that's in making it clear as day through our actions and our vocal doubts that we don't see the relationship lasting, but their blind optimism and low self-esteem keeps them from breaking up with us, even though we make it pretty damn obvious that that's exactly what we want them to do. Yes, it's cowardly and confrontational, but it is what it is, and that's just the way that some people handle some of their relationships. Not everyone handles 100% of their relationships this way, but I'm pretty sure we've all been in this situation one time or another. And that's exactly why I appreciate the complexity of her relationship with Mark, and I think that it's a lot more compelling television than pretty much any of the other relationships, because this is the one where you've got someone asking real questions and expressing real doubt about marrying someone that they've only known for a couple of days. Like, it's bizarre to me that everyone else is so gung-ho about the thought of entering into a legal contract with a literal stranger where they could lose their assets, you know what I mean? And they have no real questions to ask other than, will my dad judge me because my relationship is interracial? Am I gonna have an with this guy versus the other guys I've been with? Or is she gonna be obsessed with me and love me even though she doesn't pay off her debts? Like, she's asking very real questions. I think Jessica's ambivalence is what's making this show so successful, because, she's a really good villain. Every show needs a villain. We love having a villain to rip apart, and I think the best villains act as a mirror through which we can see ourselves and our own lives, and Jessica does an amazing job of that. Now, with all of that being said, watching Jessica try to sabotage Barnett's relationship with Amber has been cringeworthy. To think that she could smile in Amber's face and even actually warn her against getting engaged to Barnett, only to a couple days later start on her relentless pursuit to steal, quote unquote, Barnett from Amber, it's pretty disgusting and indicative of a major character flaw. Like, we do have to admit that. Full disclosure, I'm a couple days out from discovering that I was being cheated on through a large portion of my last relationship with a mutual friend. So these scenes get me especially riled up, like, about Jessica, but again, that's what makes Jessica's character so necessary and relatable. We get to see how damaged the people who string others along are, how damaged like homewreckers are as well. We also kind of get the answers to our most hurtful relationship questions by watching her in action, and I have to say, I truly do appreciate that, and I find it almost therapeutic in a sense. Watching Jessica try to seduce Barnett by talking about how she always walks around naked in front of her apartment windows, hinting at where she lives, and outright asking him where he lives when he says that he does the same thing, was especially revolting. It takes a serious lack of self-esteem to be, trolling courtyards, knowingly trying to, quote unquote, steal the next woman's man. A cheater is never a prize. If he cheats on her, he will cheat on you. And like in my case, boom, my ex wound up cheating on the other girl as well. I'm telling you, these men are no prize. My friend and I died when Barnett told Jessica that her advances were making him and Amber uncomfortable, and in response, instead of being like, I'm so sorry, like, I'm just a mess, like, this whole process has just gotten me like a little crazy or whatever it might be, she got all wide-eyed. She was like, you think I love my fiance, where did you get that? I don't know where you got that from. I'm so in love with Mark, we're the same person, head over heels, like as if she wasn't creeping on this guy for all this time. The acting and the gaslighting was just so much. I was like, Jess, listen, I get where you're coming from in a lot of respects, but here, just own up to the fact that you had been trying to, take Barnett away from Amber. We all see it. You basically said it yourself as well. Like, and just a couple of episodes ago, she was at home with her fiance that she loves so much, and unprompted, literally unprompted, she goes, I just think Barnett is just so hot and so sexy. What the heck, sis? And see, this is another place where I'm like, you know what? Jessica is always being vilified for her actions, but listen, Mark is a grown-ass man who can get up and leave anytime he feels as though he's being respected, sorry. Like, we can all see that he's being disrespected time and time again. Jessica is basically laying it out for him that she has no confidence in their relationship, and yet he keeps on pushing through. But for some reason, no one wants to give him any kind of responsibility, accountability, whatever, for the role that he's playing in this dumpster fire of a relationship. Like, really, your fiance has constantly been going off for this man. You have nothing to say about it. And you know that she left you for this man initially and only came crawling back to you when he rejected her. And now she's sitting over here telling you, for no reason, literally no reason, that she thinks he's hot and sexy and you're okay with it. Like, come on, Jessica can only continue to act this way because this is exactly what Mark is accepting from her, like, point blank, period. It's not even just her flirting with Barnett. She's literally telling him, I don't think that this 10-year gap, like, it might be cute for you now, but like, I think in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, I don't think this gap is gonna work for us, okay? She's telling him that. She's like, I don't want to move to Chicago just because you made that deal with your parents before me that you want to take care of them. And that was something that Mark wanted to do, and it was in his heart to do, but he was about to just give it up, you know, his parents who were with him his whole life, for a woman he just met who keeps disrespecting him and making it very clear that she's not in it for the long haul. Like, none of this really makes any kind of sense. Like, why would Mark keep staying in that kind of situation? I feel like Jessica has been making it clear as day that she's not relationship material in this sense with him. This relationship is not going to work. But for some reason, rather than like asking himself, hey, I feel like Jessica, through her actions and her doubts and like everything, has been making it kind of clear that she does not have confidence in this relationship. She even stopped wearing her ring like half the time as well, and he's still there. Like, Jessica is not 100% evil here, you guys. Mark has a certain level of responsibility to himself. No one is ever going to value you more than you value yourself, and he very clearly does not value himself very much. And I think that, like I said earlier, because so many of us can identify with having been the Mark of a relationship before, where, you know, a Jessica was kind of stringing us along or whatever, we feel a little bit vindicated in acting like she's the big bad wolf who's the cause of every issue in the relationship, when at the end of the day, we have the option to walk away from these people and demand better from ourselves. And unfortunately, so many of us, you know, looking at Mark right here, Mark especially right now, don't exercise that right and that option and just continue to go along for the ride. And if you constantly see him as the 100,000% victim who's done no wrong in this relationship, I worry about how you might be seeing yourself in your relationships. You know what I mean? That's how I felt like when I took a good look at my quote unquote like hatred. It didn't exist, but like whatever, disdain maybe for Jessica. I was like, you know what? Like, she's doing so much to show Mark that she's not worthy of the love that he has to give. And here he still is begging her to give her all of this love and amazingness that he has to offer. Like, no, she doesn't deserve it. I don't understand why he doesn't flip his thinking, because he's currently on the wavelength of, how can I earn her love? How can I earn this from her? No, you know what, Mark, you don't need to earn a single damn thing from Jessica. Jessica does not deserve anything from you. Like, you've got way too much good to give, and it's time for you to see that in yourself. And I think a lot of the people who hate Jessica and don't see anything wrong with the way Mark has been carrying himself in this relationship, just letting himself be degraded, letting his lifelong plans be kind of tossed to the side. You know, if you don't see anything wrong with that, then I kind of implore you to think a little bit deeper about what it says about him that he's accepting this kind of treatment, and ask yourself if he's actually healthy enough to be in a relationship. Like, sure, he's got a lot to give, but is he healthy enough to accept love? Because I think that someone who is healthy enough to accept it would not accept this kind of treatment at the end of the day. He said when he proposed to her that he knew his worth. Like, you're saying that with your words, but your actions are telling a different story, Mark. And yeah, again, I think that Jessica is the most important character in Love is Blind on Netflix, because overall, she teaches us the importance of loving yourself and not putting up with anyone's BS, and really paying attention to the things that people are saying. She's been warning Mark every single time she's spoken to him that she does not see a future with him. He's too young. He doesn't make enough money. She worries that like he doesn't understand the gravity of their age difference. He wants to take care of his parents in another state as well. She's talked about finding another man attractive who she already left him for before, and she's taken off her engagement ring many times and blatantly said that she's not yet. Remember, before they were having sex, she was like, I'm not sure that I want to do it with you because I'm not sure about this relationship quite yet. She keeps making it clear, and yet he keeps moving forward, not asking anything from her. Like, he literally has no standards for this woman. He just wants to be with her, but she hasn't even proven herself of being someone worthy of being with. And I think that speaks volumes about the level of his self-esteem. You guys, I know it was a little bit of a different angle that I had to take here on Jessica. I know that quite a few people might disagree with me, but this is just my opinion. I am more than happy to hear what you have to say about her. So as usual, please make sure to leave all of your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below and we'll chat. That's all for now. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you next time.